Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Motorsport for our iRacing eMotorsport series here for season 12. It is time for round number 2 here at Watkins Glen. 2 weeks ago we got our season set off at Road Atlanta with a great sprint race. So many different categories in this series, so much traffic to negotiate over the course of the race. It was a very exciting race indeed, and good to be back for race number 2 of our broadcasted races here on RaceSpotTV here this season. It's myself, Ian Lear, and Jeremy Scott taking you through once again with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras. Jeremy, good to be alongside you again. We've seen down the years many a time through the actual 6 hour here, the iRacing 6 hour, and lots of other events through here. Multi-class is very, very difficult at what I think is a sometimes surprisingly narrow Watkins Glen circuit.
It really is. And of course, you never know what's going to happen, especially in those first couple of minutes, first couple of laps in the race. So I'm excited to see how we're going to run tonight. Usually it's a little bit smaller field than what we're used to on a normal Watkins Glen weekend, but we'll see what happens.
We certainly will. As I say, this calendar is interspersed with endurance races, but the ones that are live you can see indicated. We're effectively here every 2 weeks until the middle of May here on a Tuesday night. So make sure you tune in on RaceSpot TV. We'll update you with everything obviously going along. We'll be next back for the Kota Sprint Race, which is race 5, round 5 overall. As I say, it is a long schedule stretching into the middle of May, but we're early on in the standings. We'll show you them anyway. In the Pro LMP2 class, Matt Smotherman is leading the way in front of Velius Roman with Justin Bessett, who got a podium in that class before. 2 weeks ago, Zachary Beisch, Gene Kelly and Kyle Schuck were the only others in that class 2 weeks ago. In the Pro 992.2 category, Willie Brennan took the victory ahead of Skylar Vicroy. Then it was Martin Wallace and Nicholas Salaputis who round out the 4 drivers in that class. In the Pro Ben LMP2s, we also saw Louis Rios and Tanner Masters, and Trevor Lage didn't get to the finish, so only has a single point to his name. In the Pro Ben 992.2 category, Ty Schuring took the victory in front of John Salada and then Chris Glandon, and it was Scott Andrews who was bringing up the rear on that occasion. This is the Ben GT3/GT4 class. Willie Brennan, Scarlett Vicroy, Martin Wallace and Nicholas Salaputis, the 4 drivers from the last race in here. As I mentioned, there's only one round that we've had so far. And in the Open GT4s, that was won by Tyler Manning, I think, from what I remember, although it was 2 weeks ago, with the most dominant victory of them all. Pretty sure he was out front for a very long time indeed that evening. Mason Cardinal was in second in front of Carl Shelton, Peter Hitzman and Justin Wells, and Nate Orlowski all got to the finish fine. Andrew Cooper and Rui Farina Pereira quite a long way down in the end. But as I say, so many different classes here to worry about. We'll worry a little bit more about the championship standings as we get later on in the season. For now, just about enjoying the racing, really, which is about to begin because qualifying is over. So let's have a run through of the starting grid here, ready for this race from Watkins Glen. Well, maybe it isn't quite over yet, qualifying, and maybe we've still got a couple. Oh, we're just in qualifying now, excuse me. That checker flag I saw was for practice indeed, so we'll begin qualifying in time as well. As I mentioned, Jerry, I don't want to say maybe surprisingly narrow, because maybe people know, but it is very narrow, and that's not going to be the particular problem for qualifying, although the circuit is a challenge. It's really in the race and through the traffic, which just get relentless in this series. I mean, this has got more car classes, we're just forgetting about the driver classes for a moment, more car classes than most longer endurance series races. And, these races are pretty short, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with traffic once again here after our first round at Road Atlanta.
It really will, because, you can also take a look. You've got GT3s and GT4s running with LMP2s. How often do you see something like that? And on a good day, it's kind of like a rush hour in New York, to say the least. But now you're putting a lot faster cars with cars that you don't normally see running alongside LMP2s. And you mentioned those walls, like you said. Remember that a lot of them are in real life are reinforced by concrete because of the stock cars that run here once a year in August. But yeah, these guardrails, they are very, very inviting. And because they are the K-walls, the Armco or guardrail, whatever you like to call it, it'll bounce you right back into traffic depending on how close it is to the surface. So that's something to watch out for should something happen. But here the S's, especially at the start, that's where I'm going to be watching because it can get hairy really quick.
Yeah, and it's a fast place as well. I think people forget about as well. Well, you know, it's twisty, definitely, but it's a very, very fast place. I know the repaving of this circuit was quite a long time ago now, but even then, I think that there is still quite a significant benefit, especially to prototypes, which initially, I don't know how many years ago it was now, but it was quite a while ago. Initially, the prototypes could run a lot closer to the ground, and lap records were being set in that DPI era as it was. But the LMP2s even now will be enjoying that as well. The downforce that they've got really comes into its own here, it feels.
Of course, the winters in the Finger Lakes region in New York really rough on the surface. And yeah, you mentioned how low they could go. They're, you know, look, they're not running the same settings that they would at Sebring per se, but still, it can be a little bumpy in some areas. You saw Chance Sheffield kind of with a little lift there through the S's, and that kind of goes to show you how a little bumpy it is, because technically you could say this McLaren, it's set up like a prototype wide enough, but either way, it can get a little rough. And of course, one good thing about that repave that they did, look, you see the runoffs. A lot of them are paved, so it's easy to get back in it. You don't have to get stuck in the gravel, so that's a good thing. But yeah, the New York winters have been rough on the old girl.
And he's just cycling through with some of the drivers, some of the cars that are out there here this afternoon on the qualifying session for this race here today. I'll give you a somewhat account of who is here and who isn't when we get some laps in here, but it's going to be a busy field once again, as it always is here. Zachary Page will probably be the first to set a time here, and you'll see a lot of them coming through very, very quickly over the course of the next 15 minutes or so. And there goes Zachary Page to the top initially. Matt Smotherman then going superseding him as well with a 1:38.1 in his LMP2. Besh then second, then Louis Rios, who's a Pro Ben driver, in the third position. So the LMP2s occupying the top spots as you'd expect, and it's Martin Wallace in the Porsches who is going best at the moment. But those GTs pretty much all the way down are very, very, very well matched indeed. And they might find it a little bit difficult to pass one another here over the course of this race, I would imagine, because it's not a circuit, I don't think, that's flooding with overtaking chances, especially when we've got the inner loop here. I don't know whether I'm beginning to prefer, obviously, in real life, obviously you do need that bus stop chicane in there, but in iRacing, I don't know whether I'm beginning to prefer not having it there, because it's a massive run that then gives you all the way down to the outer loop, but we're not doing that here. We're including the bus stop instead.
Yeah, I've done a couple of races where, we've taken away the inner loop, run the outer loop into the chute, and it's been absolutely fantastic to watch these cars and drivers handle. Of course, it means that you're coming into turn 6 just a little bit faster, and we've seen some big incidents through there too. But a lot of drivers able to handle it quite nicely. Means a little bit faster flow through the boot as well. Yeah, I think getting rid of that bus stop is a kind of a fun thing for some of these drivers.
Yeah, maybe. As Shelton comes over the line there. Tyler Manning immediately going to the top, though, of the GT4 category, just as he did 2 weeks ago so often. Elias Roman still going well here as well in the LMP2 class. No time on the board just yet, so no position on the board yet either for Roman. As Jacob Little goes up to second place in front of Zachary Page. It's so far looking like a very, very close qualifying session. You can see that top 3 in LMP2, all separated by less than 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, they're a blanket over him so far, but let's see what Roman has in the number 99, one of the faster cars in practice. And once again, I'm expecting, the 992s, GT3s mixed into one another. That's going to be, like we mentioned earlier, not many passing opportunities here at Watkins Glen, so it's going to make things just a little bit easier as the 99 comes off of turn number 11. I remember when they had that runoff there in 11 where you take that just a little bit faster, but they put the safer barrier in place. 37.892. Holy cow. That is quick and fastest so far out of the prototypes and overall.
Yep, and it supersedes that gap of 2 temps cover in the top 3, certainly. Way more than that, indeed. Andrew Cooper, meantime, comes towards the start-finish line now, and he is going to set 56.8, which is going to get him onto the GT4 board in 22nd overall, as you can see, but 4th place in the GT4 class. So far, we've got 28 drivers in the session here today. And that is a decent number, I think, for this circuit. You don't actually want too many at Watkins Glen for a multi-class race. It would be a bit overcrowded, but I think we'll be okay here today. Shelton is one of those who didn't have a time on the board. Now he does, indeed replaces Cooper. So 4th place in GT4 for him now, as we hit the halfway mark of this qualifying session. Do wonder whether it is going to quiet down towards the end, although it is a solo qualifying session, so to them it will feel as if it's been quiet the whole way through. Louis Rios, the beneficiaries champion from season 11 towards the end of last year, and here he is back in the LMP2 again. Good to speak to him a couple of weeks ago about his exploits this season again. Moving up to the LMP2, it is a big change though, isn't it? Not only for the whole series to go from a 1-car class series to multiple, but for individual drivers who were in the GT3 last season to be going to all kinds of places, and the biggest change of all, of course, some of them going straight up to the LMP2s.
And of course, this is the Dallara P217 that the LMP2s are running this season. And yeah, for a lot of drivers, it's a huge adjustment. I was able to I tried to drive the P217, have it in my paddock, and it's a beast to drive, to say the least. You really got to have your head wrapped around it to do it quite well. We saw earlier Madison Cardinal with a 55.806, that's fastest in GT4. Let's see what Rios can do, as most, if not all, of the LMP2s are into the pits. They have logged their times. A 39.210 fastest out of Rios across the line. Not going to be any better. 39.518. So still 6th fastest, but he's also on row 3. So not too hard to come up for. And yeah, looking at who's been out there, we still have John Hicks and Charles St. Pierre to log times in GT4 and GT3. So 20 cars so far will fill out the grid.
Good that everybody pretty much who has entered here has actually got out there onto the racetrack. Not quite the case yet, but hopefully will be very soon. Very shiny Ford Mustang here for Zach Merrill in the number 16 Mustang. He's in the Open GT4 class and is reflecting around the place. Good job the sun's not out, otherwise we would need to take cover. But through the oh, he's a bit loose on the way in, and that's going to be a spin through the final couple of turns. At pretty hard nose into the barriers as well, coming out of the penultimate turn there, turn 10. So one of the dangers, I mean, you've got to set these GT cars up right, haven't you? I mean, at high speeds, especially medium speeds, they can be very understeery sometimes. And if you're trying to tune that out a little bit, whether that's driving style or car setup or whatever it is in your iRacing life, you can find it very, very difficult to find that balance between just getting the rear end to come around a little bit and not completely come around on you. This can certainly happen in these medium to high speed corners at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, especially turn 10, definitely, because you're coming off of turn 9, you got a nice head of steam, and you have a little bit of banking there in turn 10, so you want to make sure that you don't have that back end swap ends on you, as Cardinal, the fastest in the GT4s, right now in the open class, 55.806, and Louis Rios still out there as well, so only 2 cars still taking times, as Hicks and Charles St. Pierre have both decided to come into the pits. Let's see what Cardinal does off the final turn down that long front straightaway. Cross the line, 55.924. Not fast enough, but pretty close to his initial lap time. So good 2 laps out of the number 35, and there's Rios. See if he can improve upon his 39.210.
I think he might have done enough laps now, to be honest, Rios, but he's still going, and we'll thank him for that, giving us something to watch here for the last few minutes. Yeah, Mason Cardinal there would have taken pole with that next lap time as well. So he's taken pole not once but twice here in this GT4 class, because as I say, that time was not better than his own best, as you say, very close, but still better than Tyler Manning's best, which I mean, you can draw well, sometimes I do anyway, draw conclusions about how the series is going to go after just one round. I've got to say, I thought Tyler Manning, after dominating so easily, I would say, at Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago, that he would run away with the GT4 class. But good to see that Mason Cardinal, who was there at Road Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, good to see that he is challenging still, and more than challenging here, taking pole by a pretty significant margin. So we can rest assured that the GT4 Championship, and indeed the races this season in that class, are going to be well on.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun battle for the championship as Rios does yet another lap. Last time by 40.515 out of the number 10. So Rios using this as his own personal practice session, which, more power to him. Why not get out there if the laps are available to you? Just go out there and run the laps. But yeah, this is going to be a fun championship here in GT4, I think. We saw how tight it was at Road Atlanta. I'm excited to see all three GT championships, see how they play out as well. And not discounting LMP2, but really, I think GT is going to come down to tooth and nail for all three of them.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on them all, of course, as we go through the season. If you remember back to last season, what we covered here on RaceSpotTV, season 11 of the Operation eMotorsport iRacing series, it was the open class. Obviously, everyone GT3. It's the open class that was most exciting as far as going down to the wire was concerned. It was very close, and in the end, separated by only a couple of points. A couple of guys in the YouTube chat asking what the track temperature's like. It's just after 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and that's not a temperature. 31 degrees Celsius out on the racetrack, high 80s Fahrenheit. So you'd expect, actually, you mentioned about the harsh winters, Jeremy, but actually there's been some very warm summer's days here in Watkins Glen as well in the past, and I'm sure in the future too. And this isn't one of them, which people will be very, very pleased about, because tyres get shredded very, very quickly around here.
Yeah, they really do, and that's one thing. The summers are hot, the winters are cold, so you have that fluctuation. And your northernmost tracks, like your Watkins Glen, your Road Americas, your Detroit Grand Prix and all that, they have that fluctuation, and that's why some of those tracks are just a little bit rough. But yeah, seeing the track temperature of 87 degrees, that's going to be perfect for the tires. Hopefully it doesn't get too much hotter once we get into the race scenario.
Yeah, indeed. Especially these LMP2s with the downforce can really shred them apart. Let's see how the LMP2s line up, though, with Elias Roman on the front of this field in front of Mats Mudman by 4/10 of a second. Jacob Little and Zachary Besh are on row 2 in front of Justin Bassett, who rounds out the top 5. The Pro Ben leader is Louis Rios, who is in 6th. In 992.2, Martin Wallace has taken the pole in front of Scarlett Vicroy. Pro Ben driver Chris Glandon is in 3rd in front of John Salada. Quite a gap there. Cameron Lackney is in 5th place in front of Stephen Rayner, who's one of the beneficiary drivers, in 6th position in 992. In the GT3 class, Chance Sheffield is leading in front of Richard Davenport by 4/10 of a second. Jason McSparron and Dave Bell share row 2. They were very close in qualifying. Damien Castro and Casey Sobel will be on row 3. All of those beneficiary class drivers, along with John Hicks, who for some reason doesn't have anyone alongside him on the grid. We'll figure out what that gap is all about in a moment. And in GT4, it is Mason Cardinal who has taken pole ahead of 2 weeks ago's winner, Tyler Manning. Zach Merrill and Kyle Shelton then share row 2 in front of Andrew Cooper, the last driver within a second of the pole. Nicholas Batista is in 6th place in GT4, and our biggest class goes down with Brian Burkhart, Peter Hitzman and Charles St. Pierre, who is the 9th of our GT4s. He didn't set a time in qualifying, so hopefully gets out there onto the grid and gets racing here in a few moments' time, and it won't be too long until we are racing here for the 45 minutes here, Jeremy. Important start coming up as it always is here, but we'll see what Matt Smudman can do, because Elias Roman's taken the pole this time round. Can he protect that inside line in towards turn one, and perhaps more importantly, can he survive over the top of the hill and in towards the inner loop, where there is sometimes the biggest opportunity on the opening lap?
Prototypes I'm worried about. It's 992s on back, so 7th on back that I'm a little hesitant about to see what happens, as we're still waiting for Rios to come into the grid. I think that's the only driver outside of John Hicks that we are waiting on to start. So we're just shy of releasing the cars. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Roman can hold off Smotherman. But if Smotherman gets out front, does anybody have an answer for the 84? That's going to be the big question here. And of course, it's going to be interesting how many 992s will finish ahead of the GT3 class. We saw a handful of them do that in at Road Atlanta because of these aerodynamics, but I think that they will not have that much of an advantage here at Watkins Glen.
Let's see how we get on with 45 minutes of racing at Watkins Glen tonight. It's the Operation eMotorsport iRacing series, ready for our second race of the season. We're here from the Glen tonight. Our field of, it looks like only 5 LMP2s. Louis Rios is on the pit lane at the moment, so a field of 5 LMP2s are going to bring us to the green here rather than 6. And Louis Rios, unfortunately, is going to have to work his way through from the back of the field straight away, as Elias Roman gets given control of the field here, with the pace car pulling into pit lane. The 992s and GT3 stack up behind, and we're green flag racing here from Watkins Glen, and it's a good start from Smotherman on the outside. In fact, Roman dives to the inside, but oh, it's a spin in the background meantime. Spin in the background, and it looks like it's Zachary Page who's gone around. Roman has kept his lead in front of Matt Smudman, but we have lost an LMP2, one starting from the pit lane and another one spinning in towards turn 1.
It'll be interesting to see how these two make their way through the field, as we're still warming tires up. Roman going side to side as they go through the inner loop. Single file for the 4 LMP2s that are there. It's Roman, Smotherman, Little, and Bissett, as you're watching the 22 of Jason McSparron also on the right-hand side of your screen. But yeah, a little bit of a sketchy start there for a couple of drivers. Either way, Roman now opening up that gap between he and Smotherman. And I've got to say this, and if there's one track that I expect somebody to make that pass on the outside, it is here at Watkins Glen, because that turn 1 is just so wide, and you can go from high down to low really easily.
There's that chasing group behind. What a great start that is from Chad Sheffield, by the way, to get in front of all the 992.2s. I know that sounds strange, but the GT3 drivers are classed higher than lower than the 992.2 drivers, which means the Porsches should actually be faster, or they are most of the time, but they're really quite interlocked this week. This is going to depend on what circuit we're at as well, where everybody is indeed. But Chad Sheffield is leading that group of the other GT cars, let's call them, behind the prototypes, who are leading this race at the moment, and Sheffield getting away comfortably actually. Wallace has got Davenport behind, and that's not a 992 behind, that's a Porsche GT3, just to make it even more confusing, as he looks to go down the inside there. Davenport, not sure he's going to lunge from that far back, is he? But this is the awkward scenario now for Martin Wallace. He wants to keep that buffer to his 992 rivals, but he doesn't want to lose time with Davenport.
Of course, for those who are wondering how we could tell that each is each, you take a look at Davenport's car, and that has the wider fairing, so the wider rear tires, and it has all the GT3 bodywork, so that makes it a GT3. The narrower body, that makes it the 992.2. That's what you'll see in Porsche Cup as well. So it's easy for those of us who've been around the sport a while to see that, but for those who haven't, that's kind of how you can tell as we take a look at the replay to see what happened with Beige, as he just swaps lapse ends there, back end, wanting to see what that front end's looking at. And unfortunately, Beige has to sit there a long time until the full field makes their way around. By the way, he's up to 15th already, with Louis Rios up to 17th after that pit lane start. So Beige trying to make his way through. He's closing in on Damian Castro and Brian Burkhart with a meatball flag already on lap 2.
Yeah, indeed. And having to go straight back to pit lane, I think towing straight back to pit lane, in fact. Let's see. Oh, wow, that's an impact, isn't it? Goodness me. That is at the inner loop there. Very, very hard impact. I mean, it's that curb on the inside that, goodness me. That Cayman has gone in very hard indeed. And as I say, it's that inside curb. We talk all the time in the 6-hour race that comes here that the race is not always coming down to, but it often comes down to dicing with that curb on the inside there for 6 hours. Well, we're only dicing with it for 45 minutes here, and we've already got one victim. I'd be surprised if it's the last.
Look at that air that he gets, though. I wouldn't call it a curb as much as I would call it a ramp at this point, because that launched him up and over head first into the safer barrier, and he's into the pits right now and actually showing as out on our timing screen. So not a good start to the evening for him. And gosh, that's just so hard to watch. Chance Sheffield, 5th overall, your GT3 leader, as he's got 2.7 seconds up on Richard Davenport. Davenport getting around Bob Wallace for the overall position, but not necessarily the battle for the class lead. He's got Skylar Vickroy on his tail. And of course, also Zachary Beige, 19 seconds up. So I would give that another lap for Beige to make his way through. And actually, there he is right there. So actually, that 17 seconds is to the next driver. But either way, Beige making quick work of that spin and still making his way safely through the GT traffic. Got to give a tip of the cap to him.
It's always the dangerous thing when you have a spin early. Oh, Cameron Lackney has been making contact with Dave Bell there. I think they're both administrators in this league. I've had discussions with them in the last week or so. So that's going to be a fun next meeting that they have. Andrew Cooper goes for a spin here through turn 1, and that's not a place you want to land. Right on the exit there. He's going to get away with that, but that's not an ideal place to land yourself, as I say. As we follow the GT4 leaders, it is not separating apart in this class yet, and we do often see this. Mason Cardinale leads Tyler Manning, but the gap's not very large, and the LMP2s are going to disrupt that when they get here, but it will be some time until they do, and these cars are the slowest and therefore most likely to stay together up until that traffic fades.
That's going to make things just a little bit more fun, is watching the LMP3s bob and weave their way around this GT4 traffic. Of course, everybody here in the GT4 class knows what they need to do. Peter Heitzman working off the heel of the boot and spinning and getting back onto the circuit as he's able to get going once again. At least he didn't end up in the gravel trap. That's the big thing, but backs up and gets that Mercedes back for a problem with Davenport, as now he's a little high. He's fallen back off the lead pack.
Yeah. Oh, has he got damage? It looked like he had. I was about to say he's gotten away with quite a big one, but maybe he hasn't. Oh, he's got loose through the inner loop there. I'm not sure whether there was initial contact. There might have been, as he was already spinning. So he's nosed into the wall there, and he's got pretty big damage. Now, there was a big discrepancy 2 weeks ago in terms of some pit stop times. Now, that has been uniformed somewhat, but I'm not sure how having damage affects that, whether that means you're still okay or what. Well, it was close when there was contact. There was definitely contact as the accident was already happening, but when there was contact to instigate it, I'm not entirely sure. What is sure, though, is that Davenport has lost a lot of time, got quite a lot of damage, and Chance Sheffield now leads this GT3 class by quite some way.
Almost looks like that Davenport's crab walking a little bit as he keeps falling through the order. He will have to visit bit here shortly, but Damian Castro trying to hold off Dave Bell for that third place in class, 12th place overall. It's Acura behind the McLaren as they work their way through turn number 1. Still not close enough to make anything happen as of yet. But the Acura, even though it is basically out of professional racing altogether, still a stalwart here in the services. A lot of drivers like to use that Acura, especially on the shorter sprint races.
I wish it was a car that people use more, actually. I think, it's a good car that hasn't quite got its use for my money in the world of iRacing, but there you go. Good to see we've got a few in this series. Dave Bell on board with him right now. Behind Damien Castro's for 12th overall as it stands. This is the last spot on the podium in the GT3 category. Just less than 10 minutes into this race. Just seemed like Dan Porter's survived with not too much of a long pit stop, so as long as the pit stops aren't too long for everybody else, then it should be fine. But as I mentioned, some real discrepancy 2 weeks ago in how the pit stops went. They decided Class or 2 as well with the length of pit stops that we saw. Not expecting to see such a difference here today, as I mentioned, because of the uniform nature of the pit stops that I believe has been somewhat, or at least attempted to be imposed on this field. So we will see how that ends out. Oh dear, Mason Cardno gets very loose on the bottom of your screen there. And that is Tyler Manning passing for the lead of GT4.
Always a problem as you're headed towards the chute through turn 6 as you're going downhill, and got to set yourself up correctly for that corner as, Cardinal falling back to about a second. He's got Zach Merrill second behind him. So uniform 1, 2, 3 with Manning, Cardinal, and Merrill. All three of those are open drivers still working their way through the heel, but plenty of time left to see what happens. And I'm kind of surprised that it took this long for Manning to get around, but either way, he does it at the expense of Cardinal's looseness.
Yeah, indeed. See whether that becomes now a trending gap, if you like, that goes out now in the favour of Tyler Manning, or whether it just come back again to qualifying form where Mason Cardinal was undoubtedly the quicker of the two drivers. Kyle Shelton's now going to meet ball flag, unfortunately. I think that's another one of our GT4s, if I'm not mistaken, and it is indeed. And that's the second GT4 we've seen already with a meatball. Brian Burkhart, unfortunately, has already retired from this race. Now, I think he was quite a long way away from the inner loop at the time. There was Shelton, but I might be wrong, as Elias Roman here approaches the traffic and has done seemingly quite well out of it. It was 2 seconds before he got into the traffic, now 3.5 and growing seemingly.
This just goes to show you how good of a driver you are if you can navigate traffic, much slower traffic, as you can. It's almost, you know what, this almost reminds me of the days when I was a marshal for ALMS. Now, we were told that the LMP1s and the GT3s had a 60 to 70 mile an hour gap. Now, that was at Road America, so obviously you have the longer straights. And it was neat as watching these drivers dance their prototypes around some of the GT3 traffic. As we take a look at the replay of Mason Cardinal, and yeah, just a little bit too fast entering turn 6, and they'll do it each and every time. But back to what I was saying, it's neat to watch these drivers at their craft, and you could tell who the really good drivers were and those who, you know, technically were still learning how to make their way around traffic, because, you know, maybe they came from prototype lights, or they came from the what was then the Porsche GT3 Cup as well, or, you know, they came from some other championship. So that's how I measured a good driver back then, still do, is how do you make your way through traffic, especially near the back of the pack.
Yeah, indeed. It's such a big part of the Opmo series these days as well, which is obviously new for season 12, as Martin Wallace here is leading Scarlett Vicar in 992.2. There's a dive down the inside there from Jason McSparron, I think that is, in the GT3 beneficiary class, and again, this is where things get awkward. He's got a 7.5 second deficit here, McSparron, and that's only going to grow if he gets stuck behind these 992.2 cars. However, how can he get past them here? They're very fast in a straight line these days. The downforce isn't bad either. Mechanical grip, very, very similar, because it is relatively similar, really, across the board. So, where do you get past here if you're McSparron? He's clearly a little bit quicker, but it's about making a pass. It's not much a problem when you're actually in a in the same class as somebody, but also when you're in a faster class, you've got to find this speed to actually get past them as well.
And that's where the thinking portion of the program begins, and this is what makes sports car racing, especially multi-class sports car racing, oh so fun, because yeah, you may be faster in some parts in the car ahead of you, but they're running faster lap times, so you've got to do your best to figure out how to get around them. And that's what the problem that McSpared's having, is trying to get around Vic Roy, while Vic Roy's still trying to get around Wallace for the lead in the 992. So there are two races going on in Skyler Vic Roy's head. Really, I don't want to be in his position right now.
No, indeed. It's so difficult to look behind you and in front at the same time anyway, when you're in a battle, but even more so when it's not someone not even in your class trying to come past you as well, and that won't quite go away. Now, Mason Cardinale won't quite go away from Tyler Manning, but he is allowed to. He's challenging for the lead in the GT4 class right now. Looming over that Cayman with the GT4 Mustang through the final turn. That's a better turn from Manning, and so he pulls a few tenths away, but this is going to be the to and fro again and again. I wonder if these two were affected at all by the traffic. Maybe help Cardinale up only slightly. Tyler Manning getting reeled in only slightly, but it is still very close between the two of them, and it looks like Tyler Manning is still under pressure, but so you can't tell who's bettering who, because whenever either of them are behind the other, they look like the quicker one, and that makes for a very ping-pong battle here. It's going to make for a very close battle at the front of GT4.
Kyle Shelton was out of the pits earlier. He's back into the pits, and yeah, you see how Cardinale now closing in on Manning. Let's see if he can make the pass where he made his mistake a couple of laps ago, as you watch the LMP2 traffic making their way around, as you see Rios last of the LMP2s to go through, so now we'll have to deal with the GT3s and the 992s here shortly. And you see Cardinale kind of, being a little leery through turn 6, quite understandable with how his lap almost ended a couple of laps ago, but still Cardinale closing in on that Cayman, and that's another situation where the Cayman's fast in some spots and the Mustang's faster in just other spots. Of course, I think that both of these cars very well balanced for the type of car that they are.
They certainly are well balanced at the moment. Oh, it's a nice exit though from Cardinale, looking to the outside now, going over the top of the hill. Very underrated, difficult corner, I think, turn 9. Off camber, uphill. But it looks like Cardinale's got a good run through it. Oh, and he had a look down the inside there. I think he was alongside just for a moment, but decided to back out of it. And Manning is able to keep the first position in the GT4 class, but he's clearly feeling the pressure at the moment. And Cardinale is applying it and getting in the mirrors in all the right ways at the moment as well.
That's what you gotta do. You gotta push the pressure just a little bit. But Manning and Cardinale, they're two tough competitors. No surprise here that they are running nose to tail through the S's. Of course, Cardinale gets a good run coming out of the S's. We saw him poke a nose heading in there, but Manning able to open up just a little bit of a gap. You see that gap kind of opening up a bit, and let's see if Cardinale has anything going into the inner loop too far away to make anything happen, staying off those launch ramps, and still within about a car length. Of course, don't want to make too much of a mess, because not too far away, Zach Merrill, that interested spectator, 1.5 seconds behind this battle. He could pound sooner rather than later, as he's running the same lap times as the rest of the folk.
Yep, they battle, then he'll definitely be there. He might get there anyway, to be honest, at the moment. With the way that they're going. Approaching half distance here, not far from half distance here at Watkins Glen. Manning aiming really just to get the exits in the right places. It's what defending's all about. You don't have to be quicker than the driver behind you by any means. You have to be quick in the right places though. That was quite deep on the brakes for turn 8, but he's put it up nicely. And Cardinale continues to plug away. He's nowhere near as close as he was this time last lap, when he was pretty much side by side coming in towards turn 9 with his Cayman rival there. But Kyle Shelton, unfortunately, news from further down in GT4, has also retired, along with Brian Burkhart. Only 2 GT4s retiring so far from this race with meatball flags, unfortunately. As I mentioned before, the circuit absolutely does bite as finally McSparren gets down the inside of Skylar Vicroy, but look at the gaps it's made here. Hasn't actually increased the gap for McSparren very much, but it's really ruined Skylar Vicroy, who is nearly 3 seconds behind Martin Wallace now.
And that is, yeah, that's just unfortunate consequence of battling with somebody without much aerodynamic help in the car. Of course, McSparren doesn't have to worry about that too much. Still second place in class as we see the battle for first really heating up in GT4 as Cardinal goes to take a look at the outside coming out of the S's, and now he's really close in. Does Manning give him the room to go outside? No, he doesn't, because Manning thought about making the defensive move, but thought better of it. But the Mustang of Cardinal looking oh so quick now. I think he's in that sweet spot, and also thinking about that pit stop that he's going to have to do here shortly.
And indeed, it started at the front of the field. Matt Smotherman has come into the pit lane now in LMP2, which is interesting in how early it is. Trying to throw Elias Roman off course while trying to beat him in this race this afternoon. As Manning brings him down into the toe of the boot again. And is very fast out of there, although Cardinal slightly closer this time than he was last. Still not close enough, though, as Smotherman's pit stop time begins to rise quite considerably, more than what it was last time out at Road Atlanta. 19.4 seconds. Again, we'll mark that up against everybody else. Pit stops were so crucial 2 weeks ago, weren't they? They were very, very different across the board as well. And you've got to absolutely get that right and shorten it as much as possible, because you just don't have the time to make up the ground lost in this race.
I think that the pit stops here are going to be a little bit more crucial than they were at Road Atlanta. Yeah, they were game-changing pit stops for a lot of them, but you could still make the pass in a lot more places than you could here. So I think, we're going to see a lot of drivers try and go for either the undercut or the overcut, depending on how they feel. There's Kyle Shelton, who is back out. Oh, that was the incident that we were waiting on. Oh, just hard into the wall. And, of course, that's race over for the aptly named Carmatic Mustang.
Well, I think there might have been some damage before that, based on what I saw on the car, and that might have contributed to the demise, unfortunately, for Shelton. Elias Roman and Jacob Little are both into the pit lane. They're still short of halfway. And Justin Bassett carries on. There's the damage that has been deemed unrepairable, I'm afraid, as far as Shelton is concerned, continuing on with this race. There goes Justin Bassett, though, leading this race now for the first time. A new leader overall for the first time. Nearly, well, over 20 minutes in now. It's Justin Bassett, but as I mentioned, very early stops here. And if that is a fuel limit, then these guys are going to have to stop twice in LMP2, which I suppose wouldn't be unusual, because their fuel tanks, even if they were allowed to use all their fuel tanks, wouldn't get them to the end of even 45 minutes if they were allowed all of their, even if they were allowed all of their fuel. So it is quite a job getting these cars to the end. Elias Roman, 20.8 seconds in pit lane. I think these guys are running out of fuel and are packing them full again here at the pit stops.
That's why we saw the smoke there in the inner loop. John Salata with a little bit of spin and decides to go for the mosquito abatement program to get going. And yeah, and you take a look at the lap times. Bassett was running a 40.069. That's his best lap. Everybody run 37.38, so I'm wondering that if Bassett is running a fuel strategy, as we see the earlier leader, Mason Cardinal, come into the pits for GT4 at about the right time. Going to be interesting to see when Bassett comes into the pits, if he's going to go for the big overcut.
Well, yeah, indeed. Not surprised that in GT4 we're seeing split strategy with not difficulty in overtaking, but certainly Cardinal would like to be out of the way of Tyler Manning now. Flash of the lights from Roman, who dives down the inside of a Porsche Cup car. Smotherman has to follow. Bassett can't go on another lap, which is what you'd really need to if you want to save enough laps to go the distance here. I think that would be out of the question, to be honest. It would be very, very difficult to save that amount of fuel in such a short period of time. These stints now in LMP2, very, very short indeed at the front, but Smotherman's really clearly had a better time, I think, through the pit stops, because He is now within a second, and that wasn't the case before. Now the field's spread out a bit as well. He can show that he can stay within a second as well of Elias Roman, as long as he has the speed to do that, of course.
And of course, he ran about a second on his in lap, about the same time as everybody else. We'll see exactly what happens. I'm wondering if he's going for the one stop, everybody else trying for the two stop, but of course, the time will tell. As you see Roman and Smotherman back battling once again. 1-2 through the inner loop, now around the outer loop. Roman, who took the lead early on, is just showing what kind of pace that he has. Has the fastest lap of the race with a 37.959, which is almost a half second faster than anybody else at this time. But now that Roman has to deal with some more lap traffic, does Roman use that GT3 as a pick? I don't think so, because it looks like that Smotherman kind of still does, because Smotherman having some difficulty getting around that Mustang. There's another GT car coming up that Roman's going to try, and that's not going to catch him there. He might catch him around turn number 9, and if he does, that's going to be good news for Roman, not so good news for Smotherman.
Well, he can head down the inside. He stays out the way, to be fair. So that can happen when these two are running quite so close. A particularly observant driver of a slower class could stay out the way for both, but that would be generous. And that was generous indeed, as we saw there. Mason Cardinale now has got his big moment coming up here, because Tyler Manning is just coming into the pit lane. It's also in 992.2 we're seeing stops as well. John Solada is one of them. Also for Skylar Vicroy, who has been in here as well, just made a re-entry to the racetrack as well. Where's Cardinale compared to Manning? I think Tyler Manning might have jumped him here in GT4 in the open class. Zach Merrill leading now, but Tyler Manning has indeed made a jump there. His 0.6 of a second short to pit stop certainly helped him, but it was a good in-lap as well. Maybe not such a good out-lap from the Mustang. We'll see whether this out-lap for Manning is any slower or whatever. He's stuck behind a Mercedes right now, but it's the difference again in the pit stops. Subtle differences, to be fair, this time round, and Tyler Manning's being pushed a lot closer this time.
Of course, we see Heitzman, Cooper, and Merrill, who are just ahead. That's Peter Heitzman in the 192 that Manning has to get around. Of course, Cardinale trying to reel him in, and indeed that he is. That gap down to about 1.2, 1.3 seconds. And of course, got more prototype traffic right behind, but let's see what this outlap is out of Manning in the number 14 Cayman, and he's trying his best to get around Heitzman as the battle for the lead LMP2 still heats up. Also, you've got Chance Sheffield into the pits. Jason McSparron also takes the pit, so your early 1-2 in GT3, they're in for their compulsory stop.
Well, the 1 and 2 in LMP2 could not be closer at the moment as they come round the final turn. It is Elias Roman and Max Smotherman who are fighting for the lead of this race right now in LMP2. Less than 20 minutes to go at Watkins Glen, and the fight is on pretty much for the first time this afternoon. Roman has been leading since the drop of the green flag, really, after taking pole position, although he did take a lap out with Justin Bessett leading because of his pit stops. But Roman is under the most pressure he has been under, I think, for this race so far. Coming in towards the bus stop, Smotherman's no closer, but there is definitely that pressure that comes with having second place in your rearview mirror like that. Although, a bowl through the curves like that for Smotherman is going to almost double the advantage in just a few corners.
Take some stones to do that. That was absolutely fantastic. Going through the inner loop towards the outer loop, that transition, you really got to get it right in order to gain time. And indeed, he has gained at least 1 to 2 car lengths. There is some more GT traffic up ahead. Cooper and Heitzman is saw in the pits, and Manning closing in. Cardinale closing in on Manning, 0.7 of a second. Separate the two. Zach Merrill has yet to take his pit stop as the LMP2 traffic making their way around McSparron for just to put him 1 lap down. So McSparron out of the pits as well. 15-second pit stop. Here's what's interesting, though. Davenport took a 7.5 pit stop, but he took it early, so we'll see if he's trying to extend some things or what may or may not happen. There's Castro into the pits as well.
Yep, these GT3 pit stops are quite a lot more drawn out, actually, than what they were in LMP2. Where I think they were hoping to do it just once in the middle of the race. That's not going to happen now, I don't think. Dave Bell also comes in. Charles St. Pierre didn't qualify, has raced, and unfortunately is spun here through the entrance to the Grand Prix circuit. He's hit himself down the hill here, but nice bit of free track space there for him to get himself reversed, even though he's in a dangerous place, to get himself reversed and back round the right way again before rejoining here in this race, which has just over a third of it remaining here. Not long at all for Roman to hold on. Oh, but lots more traffic, and that was a 992 car going pretty slowly there, especially by LMP2 standards. Some of them been able to close up through that little bit of traffic, and the pressure will ramp on again. I suspect it won't end until the end of this race, or indeed the pass is made for Mats Bummerman right now.
He's going to be to the end of the race, because you saw how good Roman is dicing his way through traffic, and you know, he just looks oh so good. That car looks like it is on rails as Davenport back into the pits, 9.6 second pit stop, so going for the two-stop strategy. We'll see how that plays out for him as he ends up in front of Stephen Reyna and behind John Salata, but basically in a race of his own. This battle for fourth in 992 still heating up as well. That's between Cameron Lackney and John Salata. That we've seen him up near the front, so seeing him race up for fourth is quite interesting.
Yeah, it is indeed. It's another battle going on down the field, by the way. It's Manning versus Cardinal again. Zach Merrill's still going out front in GT4, but he hasn't stopped yet. That's why he's got such a big lead. He might well have the lead when he comes out, but I doubt it. He wasn't too far away behind Manning and Cardinal, but if you can pull that off, then it would be very, very impressive indeed. So, 3 two-car battles going on, dotted around the racetrack at the moment, along with all the traffic that's happening here, interspersing itself with one another. Again, it's been a very clean race as far as traffic is concerned for this first half an hour. Barely saw anything through Road Atlanta either. Here comes Swimman though, to the outside line for the lead. And it's a long, long way around there. He gave it a go initially. I don't think he had any intention or any belief that it would actually turn up as a pass, but he's putting the pressure on. He's been side by side now. It's ramping up on Elias Roman.
15 minutes left to go in this race. Still plenty of time to make something happen, as they just look like one car down the straightaway. Smotherman not going to make that pass, especially with an LMP.
Oh,
with a G. Manning with a spin. Oh, that's huge for this race, as Manning was still in that battle with Cardinal. By the way, Cardinal's in the lead. Merrill has just come out of the pits. Yeah. So that was a battle for the lead that happened.
Yeah, Mason Cardinal's taken the lead because of Zach Merrill's pit stop and a spin for Tyler Manning. I think based on the screen that I saw there, that it was, yeah, I think it was a 992. It was that other battle in 992 we were looking at. Oh, three of them don't quite communicate how they're going to get through there 3 wide cleanly. And in the end, they don't get through cleanly. Unfortunately, Martin Wallace is in as well, by the way, in 902.2, but that's unfortunate for Tyler Manning. Is that going to cost him the race? I suspect that it might do, because Cardinal has shown speed, definitely in qualifying. I think he's shown enough in the race that even if he isn't quite as strong over Manning in a race distance, that he's strong enough to hold that sort of a gap that is now 4.5 seconds in the last 15 minutes.
Well, to add insult to injury, after Manning had that spin, he was flashing a little bit, so we could see some issues out of the number 14, as he continues to flash on our timing screen. But now this battle for LMP2 heats up. Here goes Roman, dives deep to the inside, and oh, that was a heck of a move by Smotherman as he makes the last second dive on that McLaren there. But now more GT traffic is going to come into play, and these two drivers are going to get more and more desperate to either separate themselves or get closer to one another.
Yeah, indeed. I think Roman might just be turning the tide in this fight at the moment as he puts himself at arm's length from Mats Mumman, who dives into turn 9 and gets closer again. That was a good corner from him. It's changing, it seems, with every turn, every twist and turn on the racetrack being matched with a turn in the momentum of this fight, it seems. Just less than 13 minutes to go. And he is right there again, is Smotherman. And this time there's no traffic around. This time there's, you could say, nowhere to hide for Roman. There's plenty of GT4 traffic, not that far further in front though, and it is the leaders actually in the GT4 class. So it would be Manning, Merrill, then Cardinal in that order for these two as they come up over the top of the hill here. Less than a quarter of a second this time for Smotherman. He's properly close and he's going to have a proper go, I think. He looks into the slipstream and then he pulls out to the outside line. Oh, and he's not far enough alongside. It's so difficult through the bus stop to actually make a move, and Smotherman's finding that out, although it was a bit of a misstep from Roman. Here comes Smotherman to the outside through the outer loop now. Can he go all the way around there? That will be impressive. He can't quite. He's looking again into the Grand Prix circuit, but Roman holds on again here from Smotherman.
And of course, they are closing in on that GT4 lead battle as well. So that's going to have a part to play here shortly. We'll see if Roman decides to take the inside defensive line once again. And I think with Smotherman as close as he is, he would be smart to do so heading into turn number 8 through the heel. But now a little bit too far away to make anything happen as Smotherman about a car length behind. There you see one of the players in that GT4 battle as Manning losing ground there on second place. Still, look at how quick Roman gets back into the line and sets himself up. That opens up an even bigger gap for Roman's nice little dive there, puts a GT4 car between them, and that was actually not too much of a hindrance as Smotherman was still too far away.
That was quite brave there from Roman. I guess he maybe needed to do it if he wanted to retain that sort of a gap. Here it is again. Oh, that's a dive. You're going late there on a car that does need to turn in quite early for that final turn. Can't really adjust once it's turned as well. He got away with it. And Roman does lead by more of a comfortable advantage this time over Smotherman. And there is Mason Cardinal, who is leading the way in GT4. Looks like he's going to go on to win, barring any trouble here. Oh, and off! Smotherman's off! Smotherman is off through the bus stop chicane, and he's hit the wall too. Elliot Roman now is on the stretch to victory because Matt Smotherman has found the barrier here through the bus stop chicane, and that is a real shame. He might well have damage too. It doesn't seem that he's got a meatball flag, but he's definitely got damage, and Matt Smotherman, I'm afraid, is going to drop a very long way away now. 9 seconds it is nearly already. It's the mistake, the blinking, it's through the bus stop chicane. Here it is again. You're dicing with that curb every lap, and unfortunately for this time, Smotherman has not made it work. In fact, he hasn't got any damage. He's just lost 9 seconds, which is going to be very difficult to get back.
Yeah, he's very lucky that he's able to miss that wall. I would say by mere inches, but unfortunately it's going to be race over for Smotherman. He's just going to have to settle for second place at this time because Jacob Little 23 seconds behind your second place driver. Battle for first in 992 heats up once again. It's Wallace, it's Vic Roy. 666 over the 28 as they slice and dice their way through traffic. As not too far away, you've got McSparron as well, who's trying to play spoiler here in this battle as he tries to get around those 992s once again because he's a little bit further away from Chance Sheffield. He probably thinks if he can get into open air, he can catch up to Sheffield, but with 9 minutes left in the race, I don't think he's going to be able to do it.
Well, exactly, and I think Vic Roy would like to explain that to him at the moment, but that could be quite tricky. McSparron, don't forget, was hounding Vic Roy in the first part of this race as well, so this is an ongoing story in the 992 class. McSparron is currently in second place, actually one of our drivers we're going to have a bit of a feature chat to at the end of tonight in the from the beneficiary class. Always get to, or we've organised anyway, to speak to a couple of them after each of our, obviously different drivers, each of our broadcasts this season. And he will be one of them, as long as he wants to come in tonight and have a bit of a chat about how things have gone tonight, and indeed more broadly as well, of course, here at Operation Motorsport. Yes. The battles in the 992.2 category continue here, 8 minutes to go. And these are the only fights in the field now, not only in this category, but also in the field as a whole. And there goes the one for for first place indeed. Skyler Vic Roy has found the wall over the top of the hill. It's so easy to do through turns 2, 3 and 4. Unfortunately, that Porsche is a wreck now, and Wallace is well on his way to a victory in 992.2 after a dramatic big crash for Skyler Vic Roy.
At what point do the drivers just start handing Ramiro $20 bills and say, don't show me? Because we've seen the past two battles for the lead end up in the wall or end up off course. We'll see what happened with Vic Roy as the S's do bite once again, going up the hill, missing that first apex. Oh, yeah, he just missed the apex there by just mere inches, slapped the wall on the right side, and that ricocheted him onto the driver's left wall, facing backwards. And now Cameron Lackney has a meatball flag as well.
Yeah, indeed. As Zachary Bache, meantime, gets back past Jacob Little. So this is a great recovery from Bache to get into third position now. Jacob Little down into fourth. And that's so podium changes happening there. I guess one of those positions obviously gifted for Zachary Bache as it was to everybody, but nevertheless a great recovery to get back onto the podium here. But yeah, damage starting to be inflicted here very late on. Cameron Lackney, another one, as you mentioned, with damage. Also a 992.2 class driver. He's in the Pro Ben category, though, and is therefore dropping down quite significantly as he was running quite high in the overall standings. The top, I don't know, only the top two now, actually, and the 992s actually are, but yeah, those are not two of them anymore. With 6 minutes to go, that was the battle, as I say, in 992. I'm not sure if it's going to reappear, to be honest, in the remainder of this race, because there's not too long to go. But there is another round of pit stops to have in LMP2, and Elias Roman's in already. Now, is there going to be anybody who's dared to fuel save as much to get to the end on just the one stop? I somehow doubt it, but maybe someone will have given it a go.
Yeah, my money's on Bassett. We'll see what happens with him, but Roman into the pits. We'll see how long that pit stop is. It's about 7.2 seconds, so quick splash and dash out of the 99. Going to be interesting to see when Smotherman, Bache, and Little come out. Of course, 35 seconds from pit to pit. And now the game is afoot for the rest of the LMP2 field. Now, granted, Bassett is still far away, so either way, if he did save, I don't think that he's going to have enough time to get up towards the lead. Salado with a spin off the final corner. I think he might brush the wall just a little bit, if at all, and able to just make his way, decide, you know what, let's just go through the pits on second thought. No.
Oh dear, this might be a big one for Cameron Lackney. Oh, it is indeed. Dear, oh dear, that's a very big crash. It's the same place as Vic Roy, but it's completely different circumstances. And it was Roman, I thought it might have been. So that's why he's come to a stop now. Maybe he has thrown this race away at the very end. Maybe he needs a pit stop anyway. But maybe Smotherman has a chance here as well. That was Roman, and you know, that was, I think, overly aggressive driving as an LMP2 driver, to be honest with you. Vic Roy's was an unforced error, really, over the top of the hill there, missing the apex like that. He was going to hit the wall and always going to crash, but Cameron Lackney there was minding his own business when that LMP2 came past, and maybe Roman's going to be nervous because Smotherman's in, so he'll regain the lead, but maybe he'll be nervous. Somebody be looking into his actions over the top of the hill there.
So the post-race stewards have anything to say about it, and once again, Roman diving at the inside of that GT4 car, and Zachary Bache gets a black flag, so that's going to be game over for his hopes to get onto the podium as Smotherman comes out, and Jacob Little over hops him. So we'll see if Little has enough gas to stay in that second place. It's not energy here in this class, but either way, Bache into the pits to serve that black flag. I would say we got about 2 laps to go as they crossed the line last time by, but Roman, yeah, might be staring down a victory that might be taken away from him later on tonight.
Well, let's hope not for his sake. He's only a couple of laps away from it now. When he gets to the line, there'll be 2 laps to go, and Roman will very soon feel that this is well within reach. Maybe he already feels like that, to be honest. Still plenty of pit stops to come from LMP2. Smotherman is behind Jacob Little now, and if Little doesn't stop, then there could be a bit of a defence on here for second position, but again, you'd imagine that he will stop. It's going to be very interesting for the rest of this season now. there's some circuits where I reckon it'll be quite close to whether it will be a one-stop or a two-stop for these LMP2s. So one to watch for sure when at Watkins Glen, where you're on the throttle quite a lot, they're getting quite close to making it on just the one stop.
Well, here's what's interesting. We know that we're going to be at COTA twice this year. The week before for the endurance race. So a lot of these LMP2s will have a chance to kind of test out their strategy during that endurance race to see if it'll work for the sprint race that next week. So that's what's going to be interesting as we see Bassett come into the pits. I believe that was Bassett. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Jacob Little is into the pits as Bassett goes around for that third spot. So one has to wonder how much fuel is in the tank for the 442 and see this battle for GT4 between Bautista and Cooper.
Yep. That's a late GT4 battle that's rather pops up here. Not because of any pit stops or anything, but this wasn't expected to be any really in GT4 at this point. But there is now between these two, Bautista and Cooper, BMW versus McLaren. McLaren very much hiding behind the BMW from certain angles. The different shapes of these GT cars, always something to marvel at, especially when you've got two really different ones like we have here, nose to tail. It's one of those LMP2s goes on past. There is Roman again. 1 minute to go. He'll see the white flag next time round as he passes. This is also, I think, it might not be a fight actually, but it is a bit of nose to tail running in the with two Porsches in two different classes. Roman just one lap away here, and he is losing time to Mats Mumman, but he won't worry too much about losing 5 seconds on the last lap here. He'll worry more about his actions early on in the race, I think, and we'll see whether anything is done about that. But it was it could be viewed by some as very aggressive by the LMP2. We'll wait and see, obviously, what they say. But seconds remaining. The white flag waves. Elias Roman is going to go on, it looks like, to take a victory here. And when you actually take it all away, he's only not led a couple, 1 or 2 laps here, and that's only because of pit stops. He's had the best strategy, or at least a competent strategy to see him through. He's had the pole position. You can't really fault him for too much here, it looks like.
No, you really can't. And, you know, other than that little hiccup there in putting, 992 into the wall, it was a really flawless race for Roman. Also, if Bassett can make it around and finish this race, he will finish on the podium and up 2 spots from his qualifying spot, which is absolutely fantastic on the 442. We know he ran at least 1 lap in the lead once Roman took his first pit stop to try and see if he could extend it, but just could not. So, we're looking at Roman, Smotherman, Bassett podium quite possibly as little as 22 seconds behind our third place driver.
Yeah, indeed. It's been a great drive from Elias Roman, that is for sure. His winning margin might flatter him slightly at the end, but even so, he does deserve it. 5 seconds over Mats Mumman. He's got, got one little bit of lap traffic to go there. That could have been awkward as well. But he gets through nicely. And Elias Roman is going to win at Watkins Glen in the Operation eMotorsport iRacing Series here tonight. It's comfortable for Elias Roman. Pole and victory, with leading almost every lap along the way as well. A very, very good job indeed done by Elias Roman here tonight, who takes the LMP2 class with ease. In the 992.2 class, Martin Wallace is going to go on and take victory. He was challenged by Skylar Vickroy for such a long time, as we know, but over the top of the hill at turn 2, Vickroy made that unforced error, unfortunately, and put him a long, long way down. And unfortunately, enforced an easy victory, really, in the end here. It looks like, not sure whether Mason Cardinal is going to get to the line first before him, but Chance Sheffield certainly is. He's going to win the beneficiary GT3 class here. Oh, Cardinal is indeed behind him, actually. Sheffield, though, is going to come around the final turn. He's McLaren and take a dominant victory here. I haven't spoken about him all night, but Chance Sheffield wins in the GT3 class. Booming victory of over 11 seconds over Jason McSparren in the beneficiary class. with Martin Wallace coming through the 992.2 class. He takes victory in the end. Only 7 seconds rather. With Chris Glandon not that far away at all. And there's Mason Cardinal. He takes his first victory of the season, turning the tide on Tyler Manning from last round, and putting on an excellent drive to get there. And a good fight at times in GT4. Shame how it ended all at turn 1 with Manning getting spun around in towards the turn, which was unfortunate for him. Well, those are the 27 laps we see tonight, and Elias Roman wins in LMP2. 5 seconds in front of Max Mummer, with Justin Bassett on the podium with them. Jacob Little, Louis Rausch and Zachary Bache all got to the end there on the lead lap in LMP2. Couldn't say the same last time. Martin Wallace wins in 992.2 in front of Chris Glandon. The leader got all the way up to John Solana in the end, 1 lap down there. Skylar Vickroy managed to get out for 4th place points with Stephen Rayner and Cameron Lackney behind. Lackney also getting a meatball, of course. A 3-minute stop indeed there. Chad Sheffield finishes in 1st place in the GT3 beneficiary class. We've had Jason McSparron, Deming Castro, Dave Bell also on the lead lap. Davenport 1 lap down. Casey Serble 2 down. John Hicks never started the race. And in GT4, it is Mason Cardinal who has taken the victory here very, very comfortably. It doesn't look so comfortable, does it? 4 seconds in front of Zach Merrill, but ahead to Tyler Manning as well. Andrew Cooper and Nicholas Batista a little bit further back in their own fight. Peter Hitzman was 1 lap down. Charles St. Pierre 2 down. Kyle Shelton, Brian Burkhart finishing a very long way down indeed. Retirements indeed for today's race. Everybody else indeed got to the end, which was good. Let's have a chat, shall we, to Martin Wallace, who has got himself into the waiting room, and he's on his way to victory lane again. Martin, welcome in. Congratulations on a 992.2 victory here tonight. But just tell us through the race there what was going on, because Skylar Vickroy was close to at times, then not at others. One time got taken out the back by a other class car, and on another occasion by a crash. Tell us about that race from your perspective, seeing him behind you.
It was rough because I was watching my rear views basically the entire time. I was trying to use traffic to kind of keep a little buffer, but also not hold up all the other drivers. So it's definitely nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I can certainly imagine, but you must be pleased with the way this season has started now. Have you been getting on with the 992 class, having to let these LMP2s past and lap quite a lot of cars as well?
I absolutely love the 992. It's a great car. I think traffic is going to get interesting throughout the season, especially with the LMP2s and the GT4s being such a huge difference between the two. But it's still going to be hugely fun, especially with the spacing and the timing that all the Porsche guys have right now.
Well, congratulations on getting to a victory here tonight from Watkins Glen. And thanks very much for coming to chat to us at the end of the day as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. It's an awesome setup you guys got.
Well, thanks very much. That is Martin Wallace, who wins in 992.2. In overall land, though, Elias Roman takes the victory tonight. Elias, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Talk us through that battle with Matt there. I mean, it was tooth and nail between the two of you at the time. A proper fight. In the end, it ends up at 5 seconds. Matt makes a mistake not that far from the finish. Just tell us your perspective on the fight.
It was interesting. I definitely had the pace early in the beginning and was able to feel safe as well. The middle stint was a little tricky because I noticed Justin was just able to make it on a 1-stop. And then at the same time, Matt gained a ton of time on me in the pit stop. So I kind of had to just say screw it, focus on my battle with Matt and just try to do quali laps every lap just to gain some distance to Justin. Matt was definitely putting a lot of pressure, and then I saw his bobble at the bus stop chicane, which gave me breathing room. And then I had my own incident of my own, which kind of brought it back. But yeah, all in all, it was a good race. The warm-up session before the race definitely helped this time. I will say that.
I want to go back to the fuel thing you just mentioned there. What do you think that's going to be like for the rest of the season now in LMP2? Because last round, it was 2 weeks ago, all over the place in terms of pit stops and lengths. Everybody else seemed to have different ones. This time, a lot more uniform. Everybody seems to, have a strategy down for it. But it's very close for LMP2 as to whether it's 1 stop or 2 stop. Is it going to be a week-by-week thing as to whether you can make it or not?
I definitely think it will, especially since we're capped at 50% for the race start. There's definitely at least going to be 1 pit stop. Just basically weighing pace versus time lost in the pits is definitely going to be like a week-by-week basis.
Well, congratulations on winning overall tonight, Elias, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
No problem. Thank you guys, and have a great night.
Thanks very much, Elias Roman there, the winner tonight overall at Watkins Glen. In GT3, it's Chance Sheffield who takes the victory, and we can chat now as well. Chance, welcome in. Congratulations on race victory tonight in the GT3s. Didn't actually see much of you because you were so dominant out front, leading by 12 seconds by the finish. You seem to have that McLaren absolutely pinned to this Watkins Glen racetrack tonight. Just tell us how it felt out there.
Yeah, no, it felt really good. I mean, I came into this race and I wasn't feeling the best. I didn't think I was going to be quick, and got a little tune up on the car, and she just drove the way I wanted it to drive.
Just to open it out a little bit more, to talk a little bit about Operation Motorsport as well. I mean, how does it feel to get on the start of this season now? We're in round 2. We're properly underway with season 12. How does it feel to be a part of it all this season?
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I'm so glad I got to be a part of this organization. They do wonders, and I can't wait for the rest of the season. Coming off of a P2 from the first round and a win this round, I can't wait for the rest of the season.
Well, congratulations on that great start to the year, and thanks for having a chat to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. That is Chance Sheffield, who joins us from the GT3 victory here today. And down in GT4, it is Mason Cardinell who takes victory as well. Mason, welcome back in. Good to have you back with us as well as a class winner again, this time in GT4. What was that fight though like with yourself and Tyler Manning? You did dominate that qualifying session, but that didn't appear to be the case so much in the race. Just tell us whether that surprised you at all or not, and how that fight was.
I mean, not really. Tyler and I are generally, at least between this season and last season, we're really close, and I think the fastest times between P1 through 3 today was like within a tenth of each other in the race. So it was a lot of fun. It's unfortunate that it ended ended the way it did. I'd rather beat Tyler straight up just because of how good he is and how close we are in skill, but always good to get a win.
And what are your expectations for the rest of the season? Is it just going to be yourself and Tyler, or are you looking at some other names who can very much challenge for GT4 victories this season?
No, it definitely seems like it's going to be multiple people in the hunt this year, which is awesome, considering it doesn't always work out like that when you have all kinds of skill levels and people with different experience in different cars and tracks and things like that. So I'm excited to continue the series and see how it ends up.
Well, excited to see how it's going to go. Mason, congratulations on a victory tonight in GT4, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. That is Mason Cardinell, who finishes in the first place in GT4 tonight. Now, a couple of beneficiaries to chat to as well, those who are not class winners here tonight as well, starting with Richard Davenport, who can join us from the 5th position at the finish of this race in the GT3 beneficiaries class. Richard, good to have you with us. Congratulations tonight on a top 5 finish in GT3. Let's chat a little bit about this race first of all, and how it went. How did you feel your Porsche was able to suit Watkins Glen tonight?
Oh man, I should have finished a lot better than I did. I got around Martin in the P Cup car, and then I was trying to race Chance, and then Martin got back past me, and he was braking in the bus stop, and I wasn't prepared for it, and for some reason we 0x, but my car just shot left, and that was pretty much the race for me. But it was a good time still. Glad I got to come out and race.
No, obviously, we're bringing you in here as a beneficiary class driver as well from the GT3 class. Now, tell us a little bit about how that's worked for you in terms of your relationship with Operation Motorsport, your involvement with this series, and how it's helped you.
Oh, it's helped me tremendously, which is, it's given me a network of people that I can rely on outside of the racetrack. That's why eMotorsports is so beneficial, because for us guys who are out at the racetrack, the season has to end at some point, and then there's some guys that their PTSD is at such a level that they can't participate at the racetrack, and it's a way for all of us to come together and stay in touch with each other. So, for the eMotorsports in particular, I'm super grateful. But Operation Motorsports as a whole has saved my life, which is why I'm trying to do my best to give back with the podcast and helping run the league this season.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us and sharing that after this race here tonight from Watkins Glen. Congrats on, I know you wanted to be finishing higher up the field, but congratulations on getting into a top 5 in the GT3, and thanks again for coming to have a chat with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
Thanks very much. Richard Davenport in 5th place in the... Oh, and we did have Chris Glandon there as well. I was going to bring him in, but because Jason McSparrow, who we were supposed to have a chat to, is not there, I was going to bring him in anyway, but he seems to have disappeared. Anyway, we will, as I say, chat to all the beneficiary class drivers over the course of this Operation eMotorsport iRacing Series season, which runs every fortnight. Well, it runs on RaceSpotTV anyway, every fortnight until the middle of May. So we'll be able to chat to everybody and hear their stories from up and down the grid here this season. Great to be back again with the early stages of this season. We're properly underway with these first 2 rounds. Watkins Glen now is in the past 2, and it's Elias Roman who takes the victory this time around by just less than 5 seconds over Matt Smudman. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Jeremy Scott, with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. Until we're back in 2 weeks' time for the 3rd broadcasted round of this series, it's goodbye for now.